I was born in Johannesburg from a very humble family. My parents were not educated. My father was a policeman working right in Johannesburg, and my mother was working, doing domestic work. I was very unfortunate that at the age of 5, I lost my father, burdening my poor mother with 3 children. But as I say, my mother was a house worker. She continued working until I passed my standard 7. Well, fortunately, I liked school too. But from standard 7, I had to go to college now, and went and qualified as a teacher. The kind of job that my mother did was such that she did not have to stay there. She came in and out 3 times a week, and the rest of the week she had to do washing. Those days we had to fetch washing from town and did the washing in the township. She augmented that by selling liquor, and that is the kind of life I was brought up in. But of course it did not sort of influence my life, even other children's life. We all went to school, but most unfortunately my brother died earlier, and so only 2 of us were left. I love music, and I want to say even today I'm in a very musical family, or at least I've produced a musical family. My husband met me the first time when I was certain I stepped forward singing a solo. That's where he saw me for the first time. He was a high school student, doing matric at Vaal. And within well, I had to wait until he completed his education, and we got married. I continued with my teaching career, and but I don't think I have stayed long enough with my husband. I have always stayed without my husband, because even when I married my husband, actually I knew he was a man who was interested in doing things, and he saw that the country was at fault, and he thought he was going to get it straight, and I always listened to him. But eventually, when I understood and got to realize that he was a member of a political party, I didn't know whether I liked it or I did not like it, because we had taken a vow as teachers. He was a teacher himself, as a high school teacher himself. Well, I didn't know how I felt, because he had taken a vow he was going to be out of politics. See, as I say, those were old-fashioned things. I don't know. Teachers today have nothing to do with all that. Then, of course, I always lived in fear that sorry, we would lose our jobs. But all the same, I gave him the go-ahead. I looked after the children. I brought up the 4 children. And before long, she was expelled from the high school for the same politics as I thought. And I had to work alone. I think that was before 1960 to us. It was long before 1960. So his struggle didn't start in 60. Remember, he had to go to the Free State to go and seek employment there, work as a teacher there. He left off too because of politics. Paper called him Motlabani there. He came back, and I've always been working alone, looking after the 4 children. But I must say, much as I was a sole breadwinner, my husband was not one-sided, was not jealous, because when an opportunity arose that I had to go to school, he allowed me. For instance, I went to school in 1948 for 2 years to go and do dietetics there. I had to stay there. It was not local, it was away from Johannesburg. I still had those, my 4 children, I'm sorry. And well, he, for the first time, he also looked after the children. I came back and then he was on the run again. So until the events of 1955, Bantu education caught up with him, he left. 1960 caught up with him. He was serving on Robben Island. I mean, I'm not going into those, you know those. And what else? And I think the only time my husband came and lived with me was from 64, I think, to 68 to 76. That's the only time when we stayed together. But even then, during those days, he would be taken for questioning at police stations. Might stay a week there without me knowing where he was, without me being allowed to visit him, and it went on like that. So that, well, we suffered a lot of frustration. My family suffered a lot of frustration, and I always feel sad that there's not even one of my children who has got a high school education, no, like at least their father. No, I'm no university student. I was working alone, I couldn't get scholarships. Everybody just went shun, oh, politics, no scholarships. We couldn't get it. So that's the kind of life we led.
What year was your husband condemned?
Condemned this time.
Yes. What year was the last?
It was 79. 79 years. So for 7 years now. He was condemned for 30 years and 2 counts, working them concurrently, 15 years. Now he's just completed 7 years now.
Still to go.
He still has got 8 more years to go.
Your husband refused conditional release?
Yes.
What happened? Maybe you can explain it.
The conditions, my husband said the conditions were not satisfactory, and he would be telling a lie if he said he would abide by those conditions. The conditions were with that he must give up a policy.
You can't set your husband free?
Complaints from?
Campaigns.
Oh, campaigns. Not that I know of. Not from within the country where I stay. Yes, I haven't heard people rise and stand up to say he must be released.
Your husband refused conditional release?
Yes.
What happened? Maybe you can explain it.
The conditions, my husband said the conditions were not satisfactory, and he would be telling a lie if he said he would abide by those conditions. The conditions were with that he must give up politics. He must go and settle and think of his old age. He must have nothing to do with school children. And not even to give advice to anybody concerning politics and so on. But well, he felt he couldn't, and it shouldn't have been a conditional, because well, I suppose he couldn't go back. He started the thing, and he couldn't see himself going out of it until he had achieved what he thought his aim was. So he'd rather stay there and complete his sentence. Let me take the Bantu education. When the Bantu education, shall I say, was inaugurated, the people felt very delighted about it. The teachers were happy, the students were very happy. But to put it into practice was not the thing. It was a different thing altogether, because the same people who were happy with the discouragement of the Bantu education, instead of coming together and saying, what can we do now to improve on this education, they didn't do that. Instead, the learned people, the doctors, the teachers, removed their children from the schools and sent them to private schools, because those days the schools, of course, belong to the government or to the churches. They removed them from the schools, sent them to neighboring countries like Swaziland and so on. So then we felt it was a battle lost, because it didn't save, it didn't help the situation of how to solve that thing. But it didn't end there, because there it is today. The children have taken it up. The children felt the parents and the teachers, well, were just quiet about things. The children felt, I mean, they're feeling now, I'm saying a thing of today, the children are feeling that they have no leaders. Their leaders are in jail, people who inaugurated this education system, against this education system. Now, so what else can they do? They want better education. So they became arrogant and they just refused to go to school. That is why they do not go to the classrooms today. That is why even when examinations have to be set, they just refuse to go and write, and they will just roam about. So we feel the children have got the spirit of it all. And well, then because the government now, perhaps not knowing what step to take now, brought in the police, brought in the soldiers, but then still that does not help, because all it means is that children die in numbers, teachers are threatened, their homes are burnt down. But I think the children are getting a better education. So I think the system should be collapsing, in my opinion, because the children are getting what they wanted. At least, I don't say they've got it, but they're still there. Yes. And hence now the parents come in, the women organization and other organizations come in to put in a hand.
So you talked about the children. So you're not angry as a former teacher that the children are rebellious?
Well, I am not angry. Most of that, my own children didn't get that education, and I feel if mine didn't get it, others must get it. And we have fought so long, my husband and I as teachers were fought through this education system at last, but somebody has seen through it, and I think they will succeed. So I don't feel bad when they fight and they refuse the exams. But I think it is just a question of time. They are just fighting a battle, and it's just temporary, because in the end of it all, children must be educated. They must go to school, because how do they hope to fight a battle? How do they hope to become prime ministers and occupy positions in the society if they are not educated? Because they say they want the land is theirs, but now what will they do now if other people who knew more about the land and other things go away? So now without education, then they cannot achieve much. So we encourage them, even though they fight, teachers and the rest of it, still to go back to school. But we've got to give them a hearing, come together with them, and we talk out these things and see what the trouble is. The original owners of the land are the people the white men found in the land. Because, I mean, the white man was not there to start with. I mean, according to history. We were there. The black man was there. So we think, without details, that the land belonged to the black man. And today, the white man says the land is his. He doesn't say in black and white. Of course he says it, the land is his because he has developed it, he has discovered the minerals. But discovering minerals doesn't say he planted the minerals in the land. So it's just a question of he having experience from Europe, how minerals were being worked and all that, how to use minerals and so on. We have always had the nationalists say, I mean in a small gathering, not in an open thing like that, I mean, say, now look here, people, the Englishman one day will go to England. The Dutchman will go to Netherlands. No, not the Dutchman. The Frenchman will go to France. Somebody will go to America. But then, where will I go to? I'm a nationalist. Where will I go to? Then we say, you'll go to Netherlands. He says, no, but they don't want me there. I no longer. I've lost identity. I'm no longer a Netherlands or Dutchman. I'm an African. When they speak of South Africans, I'm South African. So where must I go to? So we say, well, the water. You came from the water, so you'll get into it. You'll settle it when you are in the boat. I don't think, partly I don't regret for the life that I have led. It has only been an inconvenience as far as particularly my family is concerned. But as I say, I do not regret, well, the part that my family has played, the role that my family has played in society. I think even if I had to divorce and start all over again and say, would I marry this one or that one, I think I would still say, no, this is a man for me. Yes. I mean, I've seen great things. Financially, I'm poor, but spiritually, I'm very rich. I'm very, very rich. I've produced a good set of children, and so on. We are very happy in my neighborhood, my church, everywhere. I feel respected. So I think I'm satisfied. I got married to a gentleman, and I still think there's nobody to match him. Even if I had to go back to Girlwood and choose another husband, I still go for that one. Yes.